So yeah. Anyway, let's do this again. Super Princess Peach, Low Toad. In 3, 2, 1, go. So the category I'm running of Super Princess Peach today is a less run category called Low Toad. The main sort of feature to it, if you will, is as you'll see in every single stage I'll pass by. I might not see them every stage, but we'll see. You see those pink boxes right there? There's toads in them. In order to unlock the Bowser fight, you must collect every single toad in the game, which there are plenty of toads to get. Every stage has 3. Every boss gives you 1 more. There's 8 worlds. There's 5 stages plus a boss in every world. You can do the math on that. I've done it before and I always forget. So yeah, essentially we're going to be seeing every single stage and just getting through the game as fast as possible, while skipping all the toads. It's sort of like a low percent run of the game, but we call it Low Toad instead of low percent because we don't actually beat Bowser at the very end. Which is a slightly unfortunate feature of this category, but it sort of makes up for it by being a much shorter category than any percent. Currently, world record for this category is around 45 minutes shorter than any percent. And it just is a much more constantly active category. You're like, you have to be a lot more attentive more frequently. For example, every time you free a toad at any percent, there is like some around 5-ish seconds of downtime while Peach is like all happy for saving a toad. Whereas here, since we don't have to do that, the only downtimes are going through loading zones and finishing stages. So it involves being a little more attentive. Plus, because the goal is to finish every stage as quickly as possible, and toads are irrelevant to that, we get to do a few reroutes to avoid certain areas where toads are, and also just get to the end quicker. So like, for example, in this stage, in the room I'm entering now, there is an extra room I'd have to go to, actually 2 of them, but specifically up above me right now, there is a pipe I could go into, up on that 2nd level, that leads to a toad. And I'm just going to skip it entirely because I just want to beat the stage. And that's kind of what gives this category value enough that it's notable to be its own unique category to be run, I'd say. It's good for people that, you know, want to be playing more non-stop. It's good just in the fact that it's a much shorter run. The fact that it's less than 2 hours makes it seem a lot less intimidating of a run to approach. And also, because we don't have to worry about grabbing all the toads, we get to use a lot more of our vibes, which you've seen me use some already, like Joy for flight and Gloom to run fast. We'll be using those a lot more for the sake of moving fast, as opposed to like solving puzzles of sorts to get to toads. So the movement for this category has potential of getting very optimized and just making the category go by really fast. Since it's been run a lot less than any percent, it is worth noting that it is a less optimized category, but the fact that it's still so much faster even with so much less optimization just kind of tells you how like the positives of this category. Like, I've already finished 4 stages and it's not even been 5 minutes. One thing to note though, like, even though you do get to be a little more reckless with your vibe, you still need to be aware of certain areas that require vibe to progress well, like coming up ahead actually. There are a couple rooms, actually one specific room where having vibe is essential to go significantly faster. So like if you just try to use your Gloom vibe to run fast everywhere you can, you could end up costing yourself more time. I have lost multiple runs due to that sort of reckless mindset. So like in this stage, for example, I used up a whole lot of vibe in just the first room to the point that I was like basically empty. Fortunately, I have to wait an extra second because I missed that flower. And so this room coming up ahead, where I used joy just to get through it smooth and quick, I ran out of that vibe and wasn't able to finish it. So you have to hit the flowers in a certain order based on the color and order of the mushrooms in the previous room. But right here, after you hit those first two, you have to fly up. Those platforms move so slow, plus when they reach like the top and bottoms of their cycles, they sort of like creak a few extra pixels, like as slow as any moving platform ever has in any video game. And like actually, sometimes it seems like only the top pixel is high enough for you to access some of the places you want to jump to. So just that, like, it's just a little ridiculous, and it makes it much better to just fly through. They actually neglected to absorb that Bob-omb, which would have given me more vibe for up ahead. Fortunately, there's another enemy upcoming that I'll be able to use instead. And the fact that I just caught that platform right there, that was really good RNG off of the cheap that made me catch it, because typically we run out of, like, we end up missing that platform and have to joy up instead. So that was a really nice little time save. Alright, so now we're at the boss. Every boss fight has a little stylus minigame beforehand. And this one involves pulling down bungee cords, or little trampolines for Peach to jump off of to reach the end. So I ended this stage with 175 coins, which is 25 less than I need before I go to the shop to get an upgrade. Also, this boss fight may look a little familiar, both in the way you beat him and the character itself. It's Speedy Piranha from Sunshine. Still vulnerable to being filled with water in the belly. Yeah, so we'll be doing a shop visit once I reach 200 coins to gain an upgrade for Perry the Parasol. You see Peach carrying around. And it's just to do basically what any umbrella ought to do in a video game, which is lets you float in the air for a little bit. Okay, I took a damage that I wasn't supposed to take, which is fine. I just have to, like, turn off vibe manually instead of damage boosting out of it. If you notice, I'm intentionally taking damage on this boss. Anytime you turn off a vibe, it takes a few frames for it to turn off. But if you take damage to get out of a vibe, that delay doesn't exist. So it's quicker to damage boost whenever possible to turn off a vibe, as long as like the knockback caused by the damage boost doesn't affect you. Which in the case of this boss fight, it doesn't really matter. So now we're done with Lottie Dot Plains, on to World 2, Whose Woods. Typically we want to have Float Umbrella before entering World 2. That's just kind of how it goes standard. But we can work without it, honestly. It's not that big a deal. It's a little inconvenient for this room just because it's so much easier to be able to float above some of these sections instead of having to wait for some platform cycles. But besides that, the stage moves smoothly enough. Now, I did mention this is Low Toad, not like No Toad or something like that. That is because there are some toads that just are completely unskippable, including that one right there that just straight up blocks your path, and there's no other path to the goal ring. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but after beating the boss, we also saved a toad. So every world is going to save at least one toad, and some are going to save two, and I think one even gets 3. World 8 is the only one we will not be saving a toad, and that's because there are no, like, all toads are skippable in World 8, and since we don't beat a boss that gives us a toad, I don't need to use Gloom right now. Since we don't beat a boss that gives us a toad, we won't be getting a toad. So you just saw, because I turned on and off my Gloom vibe there, I just lost time in an auto-scroller. Isn't that silly of me? Nothing too significant, maybe a second, maybe two. Not going to ruin the run. There's plenty of other things that can happen instead to ruin it. Don't worry about that. We should reach 200 coins by the end of this stage, though. Fortunately. So we don't have to worry about not being able to float. Like there, I could have floated over that gap had I purchased Floatbrella already. But we worked around it smooth enough. So this is one of those examples. Usually we don't cry through this room in any percent because we need to use our vibe both in that room to fly to the first toad and also in this room. Actually, not in this room. In the following room, there is a water wheel we need to hit, and so we need to have a vibe for that. It's actually right up on the right here. That blue wheel right there, we need vibe to spin that water wheel with Gloom vibe. But yeah, we can instead simply ignore it, since we don't need to grab the toad that would lead to. I think not having Floatbrella cost me a little bit of time there. But now that I have 200 coins, I can go to the shop and buy myself a Floatbrella. Hey Alma, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Alright. There's a lot of back and forth that goes on in this stage in any percent. Like we have to go we actually go up to a pipe straight above us to get a toad. Then we come down here, and then down below to a water wheel. That then brings us back to saving a toad in the previous room. Then we finally get to move forward. Wow, that angry Goomba just knocked me back real far. Made me miss a platform cycle, in fact. Yeah, so whole lot less to do in Low Toad, which is nice. Got to work a little bit against the wind here. Not the biggest deal. We'll be using Gloom. So I waited to use Gloom just because I need to make sure I have enough vibe to first fly up here and then also Gloom one more time and reach it to these blocks to get another vibe refill to then make it to the end of this room. That's funny, I have a multi-twitch of my stream and his stream up too. It's kind of watching him do some gun game now, I think. So the fact that we saved time there, we saved 10 whole seconds even with visiting the shop, that tells me that my my PB probably visited the shop in that stage as well, and it might have actually gotten enough money to buy all the upgrades we need all at once. Meaning it got the 777 Peach, which you can get if you ever get a star in the goal ring. It has a chance of turning into a Peach and giving you 777 coins. It would be a way to, like... It does save you time because you get to visit the shop less. But it's not enough to the point where, like, personal bests require it. So we just kind of... If we get it, hooray. If not, we work around it. I don't know if I do, Alma. I don't know if I don't know if that I needed audio. I actually just switched to laws pretty recently. Also, I had the different multi-twitch up. But yeah, so something to watch out for. You see that little leaf on the ground there? You might have missed it. If so, that's fine. But if we accidentally watered that, a beanstalk would have grown, which would have made us watch a cutscene of watching a beanstalk grow, and the whole game freezes for that to happen. So yeah. We had to make sure to intentionally jump over that to avoid that. Okay, and we're going to do a nice little trick where if you ever use Gloom and jump off a trampoline, you actually gain some extra height. So we're going to set this down and jump off of it to reach up here. And save on a little bit of movement. Da, da, da. Hey. And with that, we're coming up on the end of World 2 pretty soon. We get to avoid one of the most annoying pipes in this game. That one right there. You have to enter it, which is weird. There's no floor directly under it. You actually need to jump from the side and then hit up, which can be a little inconvenient to get. I've noted in some of my past runs that I firmly believe that pipes and doors are like the final two bosses of this game, just because it can be tricky to go in them sometimes. So the fact that we don't have to go through that one is a nice little convenience for this category. So even there, I pressed down. You saw Peach ducked under parry before actually going into the pipe. I did not align myself properly to go in it. Got another turnip. So yeah, you can see that the star on the roulette wheel is surrounded by two little turnips. Each of those only give you 1 coin if you go through it, so you want to avoid that and preferably get at least mushrooms or flowers. But really, we don't stop and try to catch it, we just kind of end up getting what we get. In the end, we usually get enough coins by World 4 for the last things we need from the shop, so it's not a huge deal. But it does feel nicer to get more money faster. Yeah, so with this minigame, I'm just using the stylus to spin the log that Pete is writing on the bottom screen. And I dodged the first spike, which is the hardest one. After that, it's just kind of waiting for the spikes to shoot out and then going right past them. Also, I don't think I've mentioned it, but just so everybody knows, I suppose, to be clear, with this being a DS game, the big screen I'm showing you is the top screen, and the bottom screen is the bottom left one. Which actually, when you're in like the overworld, is a little backwards from what is probably the most helpful, since the overworld is on the bottom screen and just parry talking is on the top screen. Alright, we're actually doing a little bit of boss manipulation, sort of, to guarantee that Who dives from the left side here, Who being the name of this boss. So yeah, if you hit Who at the wrong time for the second hit, they actually won't dive from the left side there. You want to hit Who right as they're about to shoot out the eggs, but you cancel the egg attack you hit, and then it sort of resets it, and the egg attack does happen. And that sort of switches up the timing. It switches up, like, I guess, the AI for Who, which then guarantees a dive from the left to the right, which is, like, 1 cycle quicker, essentially. Yeah. So that is just about as optimal. You could probably optimize that fight a little bit more, but that is a relatively optimized boss fight there. So now we got Shriek Mansion, spooky level. Gonna see some more familiar enemies in here. Some dry bones going on. So actually, in the any % run, there's a door to the up left that we usually fly to. I've accidentally gone to it during Low Toad runs, actually. It leads to a toad, and there's no way around it. So if you go that way and free the toad, your run's invalidated because you saved a toad you didn't need. So we need to go to that top door I went to instead to completely avoid that toad, because it straight up just blocks your path. And because it's avoidable, even if that route is faster, we need to take the route that completely avoids the toad. So that's an example of rerouting due to avoiding a toad as opposed to for the sake of saving time. It might save time, actually, but even if it didn't, we would have to take that highest route anyway. So now we have the Slide Brella power-up. It's a nice little zip line. Nice moonlit zipline path we got going on here. Boom, we're done. Alright, I will admit I have not run this category as often as any %. So anytime you hear that sweet, as if Peach is doing a Smash Bros taunt, that is me getting a Peach split, which is the equivalent of a gold split for most other runners of speed games. Meaning that's the fastest I've ever done the stage. So we might get a decent amount of those just due to the sheer fact that I've run this category significantly less. So actually, I was a little reckless with my vibe there, so I'm running a little low. So usually I do a little more glooming than I am right now. I don't want to run out before finishing lighting these 4 torches. So I'm going to normal run to the right there. Now I'm going to turn it on to get to the left side. So I had to do a little bit of an adjustment just because I kind of autopiloted a little bit there. Fortunately, after this room, there is a nice little vibe refill, so if we did just barely have enough to light the 4 torches, we'd get a little refill going on there. Yeah, the sweet does not come from the game, Alma. That's a sound effect I attached to my splits. Now, all we get from the game is Peach seeing that was easy. Actually, it's funny. Anytime I play Smash Bros. For 3DS... Actually, no, I'm thinking of something else. Never mind. I was going to say, like, I actually, for my Twitch alerts, use Peach's La 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 thingy from her Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U. That's my follow sound. So whenever I taunt when playing Smash Bros. 3DS as Peach, sometimes I think I got to follow, even though it was just me taunting. But I don't. It's actually her suite from Melee. So I don't play Melee enough to get confused by that, nor do I ever stream it, so I don't, like, I don't know how I could get a Peach split in Smash Bros. Anyway, so, because I don't, like, do Smash Bros. Speedruns. Alright, so yeah, this room is basically an auto-scroller because we have to wait for the boo to get over here. You need to make sure not to ever turn around because that'll, like, pause the boo, like how any other boo works. Don't have to go in that door because it just leads to a toad. And that's the stage. La-dee-da, plains. We already beat that world. See, no sweet there. So yeah, I've mentioned that I use Gloom a lot to move fast, and that's just because when she's in that crying vibe, Peach moves faster. Also, real quick, this is a little puzzle of sorts, supposed to memorize what doors to go through. It's middle, right 3 times, and then left. What was the other thought I was saying? Oh yeah, so besides using the Gloom to run fast, the other sort of fast movement we get is anytime there's a slope, we hold down to slide along it. And then also, once we sort of get to the bottom of the slopes, we'll jump, and then we'll keep doing little hops to sort of maintain the momentum. To sort of have that slope speed for as long as possible. There's actually one room up ahead. I want to say it's in this stage. But we can actually try to do it here as well. So just jump off of the slope. Actually, if you bounce off enemies, that also guarantees momentum being maintained. So we had a nice movement there. But yeah, in this room. So we're going to slide. And even jumping off of these disintegrating platforms, if you jump fast enough, you can keep your slope speed. But yeah, then after that, most of the rest of the stage is flat, so we're just going to use Gloom to get through the rest of it. Because it's not worth waiting for a slope to get that speed. Alright, so in this stage, I mentioned earlier using like Gloom vibe along with trampolines to gain some extra height. We're going to use it on these big trampolines to gain some super height. And we're going to skip a trampoline here. We're going to try to skip a trampoline here, but this one's a little tougher. We got it. Sweet. After that, we might be able to skip some more, but I've not messed with as much these high ones. See, I got to skip one more at the end there. So that's actually one way we get to a Toad like that in 90% as well, but we still get to use it in Low Toad to skip some trampolines, which is really cool. I'd say compared to other things, that's a relatively recent trick we've discovered. That trampoline Gloom exploit. If I could have bounced off that dry bones, we would have had some pretty nice speed coming through here. In the end, we would have been halted by these fire guys, though. Because you have to slide under them, just based on where they are and their rotation when you show up there. Alright, so We can try to use Gloom when hopping over these platforms. The issue comes in if you run out of Vibe on these blue ones, you might not jump in time, and you could just fall and lose all your progress and have to reset the room. I actually fell there on accident, and it screwed everything up anyway. Got a dark room here. We had one earlier, too. If you turn on Rage, the room actually lights up a little more, instead of just having a spotlight on Peach. But since we can see the room well enough, it's not worth it. We're just going to run through. And we have a nice little gravity rotation room. These will show up again way down the line. But yeah, in this room, it's just sort of follow the trail of coins, and they kind of guide you to the end. And that sleeping guy, he is the only sleeping of that enemy, which in the 100% route, you have to defeat every enemy once, because that's how you add them to the glossary. So you need to remember to kill him while you're in that room your first time you visit it, or else you have to go all the way through the stage just to that last room to kill him once. Because, like, you do have to worry about defeating enemies, like, an awake one versus a sleeping one counts as two unique enemies, because any sleeping one is considered calm, which is like one of the 4 vibes in this game. It's joy, rage, gloom, and calm. So yeah, you have to kill him because he's a calm fishing boo. And he's the only calm fishing boo in the entire game. Also, stylus minigame again. I am just swiping my stylus along these boos. A common misconception is people might think to try to tap them. That actually doesn't work if I just tap this boo. It actually did go away, but it doesn't work as well. Thanks for the good luck, J-Dude. I just might. We'll see. Alright, King Boo here. Everyone's favorite boo. Everyone's favorite king, the King Boo. He is a completely RNG boss fight for the first 2 hits. There are 4 torches. For the first hit, only one of them is unlit. And just my luck, it was the furthest one away. So I just had the worst luck for the first hit. Second hit, 2 are unlit, and we're just using Rage to turn it on. We're right by one of them. If the bottom right one's also unlit, we had a really good set. We did. That was good RNG for the second hit, based on where I started. Third hit, 3 of them are unlit. So really, as long as it's not a top one, we're good. Which, I mean, actually I meant to say, if the last one that was lit was a top one, which it was not, unfortunately, so it was as slow as it could have been, but that's not a big deal. The last 2 hits, all 4 torches are off, so the RNG is basically gone for the last 2 hits, which is nice. I am damage boosting out of my rage every time by hitting King Boo. I need to be careful now because I'm down to my last hit. I should be able to avoid everything though, and King Boo is dead. And that's it. It goes by fast, but if you have like a good PB with good King Boo RNG, you can just lose a lot of annoying time here because of it. It's kind of unfortunate that this split is very RNG heavy. There's actually a number of bosses that RNG can really affect. Some more likely than others. That one's like guaranteed full-on RNG boss fight. Alright, so now we got this stage. We're now in Fury Volcano. So now's when I pay attention to my money again. When my money hits 750 is when I'm going to do my next shop visit. I actually am pretty far away right now, I'm surprised. But yeah, another little reroute here. We usually go in that pipe, and it actually sends us further down in this room. There's a toad by going in that pipe, and then that pipe will eventually spit you out. See if I can, right there. But it's not worth going through, so we're not going to go through it. So we actually saw a little bit of that room that we usually don't see for any percent. Okay, so you can see I'm taking damage due to the sandstorm. I could clear it out by using Joy, and I just might if I don't start getting health, which I got some. Okay. So I'm going to use Calm here, which is the 4th vibe that you hardly ever see in speedruns. It heals you up. So actually, I'm going to jump out of lava. It's a little scary. I could have died there if I didn't jump soon enough, but the timing's not that hard. But yeah, so if you use Joy in that sandstorm, you could have cleared it away and not taken damage, but we can just run through it and just keep grabbing health as we go along. Also, you saw that was another example of a unskippable toad. So yeah, we got that one. Because it just completely blocks your path and there's no way around it to our knowledge as of right now. down the line we may discover clips are out of bounds that allowed us to go around toads like that. But as of right now, there's no sign of that happening. The only like out of bounds and clips we do have are purely for entertainment purposes, not for speedrun purposes. How's it going, by the way, G-Dude? I saw you there. I don't even know if I said hi. Welcome, welcome. I feel like it's been some time. Alright, just gonna drop down here and get the heck out. Yeah, I'm definitely a lot lower on money than I'm used to. This is interesting. But just due to the fact that we're skipping some rooms that have coins in them that also have toads in them, we're collecting a lot less money. It doesn't really become too relevant until a few stages down the line anyway. Because the next things we're going to purchase, which is the last two, we do purchase it all, are vibe upgrades. Just to have a little more vibe meter. There is a boss fight that it really comes in handy for, as well as one room it especially comes in handy for any percent, but it's nice to have for Low Toad just for extra safety measures. It's just a room you have to climb up using Joy Vibe. There's actually another room, like an extra place we're going to Joy Vibe in. Next room we're going to use Joy Vibe in just down the line for the sake of it being a Low Toad run too, come World 7. I'll be sure to point that out as well. A little more slide brella coming your way here. Zipline time. Whoop-de-doop. So actually these zip lines are a nice segment to get some free money, even though I skipped over some anyway. And last room of the stage, let's just use some gloom to go through it. And unfortunately I got one coin at the end. One other thing you might notice about when I'm using gloom vibe while I'm running, I am intentionally doing some jumps along the way as well. That is because the vibe meter actually depletes slower with Joy Vibe whenever Peach is either A, standing still, or B, in the air. So we actually conserve vibe by jumping like that. Which is a nifty little exploit to be aware of and take advantage of. Got another sandstorm room coming up here. Don't need to hit that big red switch. It is necessary 90% though. I just ran into a Goomba. And then I took damage by sand. That's the wrong pipe. That's why I'm not going down. We took a little extra damage there just because I got a little disoriented with regards to where I was. Raid is what you got to use to stomp on these guys. Funny thing is, with using Rage Vibe on those guys, there's a little hint box in the game you can hit, and it says stomp on them to scare them away, but as you can see, we completely obliterated them. We need to get out of this lava. So yeah, I don't know if they got scared away or just straight up died. So this game is a little... I don't know. A little darker than it may seem at times. I lost some time there. Dang, that's unfortunate. So yeah, this lead I have is actually not as large as it may seem, due to the fact that I'm going to have to do another shop visit once I get 750 coins, because that's going to cost me some time that my PB has already saved. So once I finally get my 750 coins, we'll see the cost of that. I'm actually kind of surprised how late this is happening. This is very unlike any percent. Do some flying straight up here. There was a nice chunk of free money. Gotta say, I'm a little surprised I dodged all that. Jeez. Whoops. A few extra damages I didn't need to be taking there. Take a mushroom. Mushroom's good for money. I was hoping to grab a star, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Alright, I need 50 coins coming up here. So a lot of stages actually start with you using Gloom in this world. It's just because we get to get some nice speed early on, and then we damage boost out of it with lava very often, making it a very optimal strategy. And I guess just because for whatever reason the lava world is a little bit flatter than some of the previous worlds, so sliding around isn't as common of a movement decision. Got another sandstorm coming up here, so I'm gonna wait till I take damage once. Then I'm gonna Gloom the rest of the way. And I use damage boost to get out of it there from the sandstorm. I just gotta be a little bit careful in these last two rooms because I've taken a little bit extra damage that I really could have avoided, but since I'm just going fast, it's, you know, not a big deal that I took it. I'm just gonna tank through these with some Gloom. And the last room is right here. And by last room I mean just simply a goal ring with a vegetable. Goal ring with a vegetable. Alright, we're actually going to make the money we need right here. Because we're going to be tapping rocks, and each rock is going to give us some money, and we should get 22 coins out of this. Because there's bigger rocks than... So each small rock only gives you 1 coin. I've actually never... Like, usually at this point we don't even need any more money, so I've never been that aware of how much money you get. But you see we're getting 3 from those medium-sized ones, and there's big ones too that are going to be plenty. Like that. I said plenty, by the way, I don't know if that was clear. So yeah, now we have enough. So after this fight, we go to the shop. So usually I have plenty more money than this for this boss fight. I mean, plenty more vibe, because I bought the upgrades. So we'll see if having less vibe affects this boss. It really shouldn't, because typically we get some nice vibe refills along the way. So we got a Wiggler fight here. We're going to be using these little spring plunger things, whatever you want to call them, to put him on his back. And then just hit him. Like, one of his segments lights up to hit. But since we just use Rage Vibe to instantly hit it, we don't really get to see that. So yeah, these rocks that fall from the sky are where we're going to get our vibe. It is RNG whether or not they drop any, so we do need some luck on our side. Fortunately, it looks like I did get some. I got a full refill. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to be a little more conservative with my vibe just to be safe. So yeah, there's a segment lighting up right there. A lot of times I will typically damage boost. But because I'm going to have less vibe in general, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to go ahead and even turn on Calm Vibe to heal. Like I said, I'm going to be a little safe here. There, we got some health back. There we go. So now he's down to 2 health. We're on to the next phase, which is when he puts some Toxic Mist out there. Which actually makes this boss fight a little nicer because we need to clear this up so we don't die to it. And when you're in Joy Vibe, the tornado just makes you invincible to all the rocks. So everything just worked out. The task actually like consistently heals itself. It's like watching the task for this boss fight is ridiculous, but it's not worth doing RTA. So we just sort of take advantage of the fact that we need to be using Joy Vibe to stay alive. Which flipping him over while he's angry actually does not damage him, But what it does do is make him calm down faster, so he's ready to be hit another time quicker. So you have to get the timing down for when to flip him over when he's running really fast, which can be a little tricky at first, but there's some nice visual cues once you sort of catch on to it. All right, so it's gonna look like we're gonna be losing time here, and that's just because I need to do a shop visit. And then we'll actually see where I am compared to my PB for real. So yeah, we're gonna buy 2 of these Vibe Teas real quick. It actually isn't real quick. We have to watch the Vibe Tea shoot up from the bottom screen up into Perry's mouth on the top screen. We're just pretending it's fast. And we're leaving, and then we enter the stage. Now we're ready to go. And now you're gonna see my Vibe meter in the top left corner. Even though it's not full, the meter is a whole lot bigger now. And actually, especially for any percent, having that meter be bigger is essential for this stage. But because we do a little bit of rerouting, it's not quite as big a deal. We might be able to work without it just fine for Low Toad for this stage. But like as I mentioned, there's other stages ahead where having the extra vibe is really essential. And even if it's not essential, it makes for a lot safer playing up ahead. So yeah, up in this room, there is a Toad up really high on the far right that you need to first fly up to, then drop down a little bit, then fly up again. So the fact that you need to do like 2 different steps of a decent amount of flying consume a lot of vibe. So having that extra vibe really pays off. But yeah, in our case, we're just going to go up only the right side. So that's why we really don't need all the extra vibe. And using that trampoline, which actually we haven't done in the past too much. It's only been kind of recently used in that little section. Makes that even go by even faster, which is really cool. Got a little nipper there, I think that's what they call them. I want to say they're from Yoshi's Island, maybe? Auto-scroller here, everyone's favorite part of a speedrun. Can't really do too much while we're here, just kind of gotta let the screen go by. Yeah, so we're at Wavy Beach, so we got some nice beach tunes going on here, hanging around. And one last room. Gloom time. Oh, we even got a star, now that we don't need it. Now that we don't need it, we got 50 more coins. So yeah, now you can see how much time I'm losing just because of that shop visit. So actually, at this point now, me compared to my splits is accurate. So before I've had like sort of a fake lead against my PB just due to the fact that in my PB I did all the shopping in one go because I got the 777 Peach. But now it's sort of equalized. And we can see I still have a pretty decent lead on my PB, which is nice. Alright, another power-up coming up here. Subbrella! Which, interestingly, at least from the little bit of messing around I've done using, like, I don't know what you call them, some kind of codes or whatever, that, like, let you, like, codes you input that let you unlock all stages or whatever before playing them. If you enter a stage that has a Slidebrella or a Subbrella, if you enter one of those before grabbing that Slidebrella or Subbrella power-up, you can still use Slidebrella or Subbrella. It's not like the game actually forbids you from using it. It's just because it's the first time you use it, they want to make it look like a power-up you gain. So the game's kind of lying to you, I gotta say. Got nice little fire flower thingies from Mario World going there. That's what I meant. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but yeah, this game does like to kind of hit at your nostalgia strings. I think it sort of tries to make up for the fact that it's not that hard. So it's like, hey, sure, it might not be that hard, but at least look at all these memories you get to have while playing the game. And that Cheep Cheep actually didn't completely ruin everything, but it threw me off. Whenever cheeps are like terrible RNG in this game because you don't know when they're going to jump, and so sometimes they'll block your path, sometimes you'll accidentally jump off of them. Either way, it just can be really off-putting, and I was able to like work around it well enough, but it took me a second to figure out, okay, how am I going to work with this? So we got a nice little trick coming up here. Not a trick, but like a little optimization. It's actually something that does get utilized in any percent as well, but not until after an extra phase that has to happen. So in the top of this room, there's these spears kind of heading over to the right. If we just, like, I'm just going to take it. There's actually a toad in the next room over, as well as a toad in this room. So any percent has to go over a room, get a toad, get that toad, and then after that, ride the spear over here. And this is like a secret path that skips some rooms. So yeah, it's a really nice shortcut, especially for Low Toad, because I'm skipping one room that any percent does have to visit, as well as some extra that any percent also skips. There's usually a Paragoomba down there. That's interesting that it didn't spawn. Oh, one thing I didn't mention about Subrella. Yeah, me blowing like that. If you blow into the microphone, it shoots out bubbles, which is your only attack underwater, which is kind of fun. Yeah, this game really is like very self-aware of the fact that it's a DS game, and it did its best to utilize everything. The touchscreen is constantly used. You're using like all the buttons for at least something. You get to use the microphone sometimes. It has like 2 unique displays for the top and bottom screen. It's not just one thing extended the whole time. Like sometimes it is that, sometimes it's like a menu and a level. So like this game realized it was a DS game and just like went to town with that. Ragey, I have this weird feeling you've been lurking just until this moment to drop that emote. Also, shoutouts to Ragey making sure that emote now exists. OP, looking out his meme Subrella. Or just his looking out his Subrella, my bad. Moving on. 5-4. So yeah, we might be able to use... Let's see, how does this stage perfect room work? Nah, he leaves. Alright. There's another Lakitu up ahead, like in the next level, that we can use his Spiky to possibly damage boost out of our Gloom vibe with. Also, we're going to stay low here. There's a pipe up above that, you know, leads to an auto-scroller, but instead we're going to deal with Chain Chomps. That we do see an 90%, but we kind of hop over a little bit of it. So, but you can see the hitboxes for Chain Chomps are a little nasty in that, like, even when you're in your iframes, the hitbox with Chain Chomp is still active, and they can keep pushing you back, and that's just because they wanted you to not be able to just run through them after taking damage. Also, you saw that beach ball on the right. That would have led to a toad, but we got to go up in that fork in the road instead. So that's a little alteration. Something like that. I thought so, Rage. I had a feeling. Don't need to hit that switch. Okay. Fortunately, if you fall in the water, those waves, as long as you get the good timing, are there to pick you up and get you back on track. Unfortunately, that bullet bill is just really rude. Yeah, so this room can be a little misleading just because there's a lot to this room, but really the answer is drop and go left. But you can like go in circles in the top right area, try to get on those spears, and it can just waste you a lot of time if you don't know where to go. Yeah, a few places here and there in this game can become a bit of a labyrinth. Fortunately, like, speedrunners have sort of streamlined what the best routes are. But yeah, I've seen, like, when playing casually myself and also other people that have played this casually can find themselves getting a little bit lost from time to time. It especially happens in World 8, where the game just resembles nothing of linearness and just tries to get you lost. Alright, so in this stage we'll have a Lakitu hanging with us. Right there. It was actually a calm one, in fact. I was supposed to get Vibe there, unfortunately I missed it, so... And also I didn't get hit by that Spiky, so... We're a little offset from how we usually start this stage, but we can work with it. There's Chain Chomps in this room. They kind of gave us these little hidey holes to avoid them. It's actually how all the Chain Chomp rooms are set to be. Or most of them, there's like a few exceptions in some stages actually. There's actually one bonus stage in which the Chain Chomps are moving to the right with you. Actually, there's one in the normal stages too, and you have to just kind of like move at their pace. We can ignore arrows that point to places we don't need to go. How's it going, Reiji, by the way? And we got another nice little skip coming up here. So there's actually like a bunch of rooms to this stage, including a second Subrella room. But there's also a pipe that just ignores all of that. It also skips a Toad, but in the end, for any percent, we actually do get to double back and catch it. I actually went the wrong way there, which is unfortunate. Actually taking a lot of extra hits we don't need to be taking right now, which is not good. But we do have the vibe to get up here, so it's okay. We might be losing a little bit of time on this stage because I got a little lost and made a few mistakes. We're gonna grab this angry Paragoomba and gloom our way through the rest of the stage. And hit the goal ring. Yeah, so I went to a dead end accidentally in the Subrella, as well as not bouncing off that Lakitu like I was supposed to, so screwed that up. Alright, so now that we're in World 5, the touchscreen minigames are going to start looping, so we actually now have to do another log rolling like World 2, but this time it's spears instead of little spiky, who knows what's coming out of the wall. I guess there were vines, you could call them, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, you actually just kind of can mostly go non-stop, except this last one if you try to just go straight through it and catch you. So I mentioned some bosses are RNG in this game. Gooper Blooper can be a really annoying one, as far as we know. We try to manipulate his attacks, but we're not entirely sure how well we can, or if we can. But yeah, basically you need to get Blooper to attack with all 4 tentacles. You attack each one, and they go away, and then after that, we get some ink attacks like that. What you want is to go straight to that attack, but you saw I had an extra ink attack in between. Then it just rinse, repeat. So like the attacks that Blooper does, how fast sometimes they happen, lots of stuff like that feels like RNG right now, which I just grabbed, which is really bad. And also, you just see Blooper's taking a long time to attack me every time, and I'm not entirely sure what's causing that. Because, like, the best we can do, as far as we know, is just stand as close to Blooper's tentacles as possible to avoid them needing to move before attacking. But sometimes, even if we're directly under them, that's not enough to make Blooper attack. That was a decent phase. And we actually timed the phase pretty well with... I think it may be, at least in terms of what ink attack you get, it might be depending on, like, what was Blooper in the middle of doing, like, when you attacked the last tentacle. So if they, like, were at the very end of their last ink attack, they might not do another one. I'm not entirely sure, though. Brambles? You can call them Brambles, maybe. Sure. Way back. Alright, so phase 2 of this fight is Blooper tries to take a nap to heal. We're just going to wake him up and say no thank you. So that was luck right there. That, like, blooper positioned their tentacle perfectly so that I instantly attacked it. That happens sometimes. And we'll take it. But yeah, overall that felt like a rough fight. I haven't done too many runs of this, so you can see it looks like I might actually be around close to par, maybe save a little bit of time to PB. But overall, like, this boss fight can save and lose you a lot of time, and it can feel like it's no fault of your own that happens. All right, we got a really short stage coming up here. Really short. And that is because we actually have to do a little bit of rerouting in comparison to any percent. We're going to drop straight down here and go up this pipe, which we don't even go in this pipe in any percent. This is unfamiliar, not unfamiliar territory, but definitely much less trekked territory. This room itself we do see in the any percent run, but the only part of this room that we see is this far right section. And that's just because we come out of that top right door and come out and then go down that bottom right one. After that, you grab this mini game and you're done. And that is the entire stage. Oops. Had a little bit of trouble with my jumps there, so I decided to play it safe and fly the rest of the way. So you're meant to fly across all these spikes. You see they even give you plenty of vibe crystals to keep refilling. But we're going to use some damage boost exploitation, some iframes, to just walk across those spikes. After that, we can take this high road, which any percent does take. However, any percent after coming up through this pipe heads to the left real quick to grab a toad, but we can just peace out instantly right here. I could have saved that had I not got my head stuck on the floor there. So unfortunately, we're just going to have to run this a little slow, but that's not a big deal. It's a little frustrating, but, you know, things like that happen when you don't run a category too often. So a little reroute compared to any percent coming up, actually. We're going to skip going to one side room, so we get to see more of a main room right up coming up here. So usually you might be used to seeing that we'll go up there and freeze that platform using gloom to put ice on it and go in a door. So we don't usually see this area. But we will be trekking through it today. And we actually come out of that door up there and then go in here. So now this is familiar territory for any percent. Which you can see, of course, any percent must go this way because there was a toad that we're skipping right there. And I mentioned freezing ice with gloom, or making ice appear with gloom. We're doing it right here to slide through. We mash A to go up ladders to skip having to watch Peach climb. We can just jump up the ladder. And we can actually skip the climbing up the top of the ladder animation too if we jump over the top of the ladder. You have to stop holding up at that point so she doesn't try to re-grab the ladder though. Can't do much in an auto-scroller. Kind of slide back and forth in these little pits, I suppose. Got some bonsai bills we're hanging with though. They're trying to cause a ruckus. You can see how the ice impacts your sliding movement. You can travel much further while sliding, as well as keep sliding while hiding and parrying. Bonsai build trying to get the last laugh there. I'm not going to have it. Use some slide momentum as well as bouncing off some bob-ombs, and we speed through that last room into the goal ring. Oh wow, lost time there too. Alright, here's a nice combination of slopes and nice timing jumps if we do it right to maintain some good speed going through here. I missed one jump, see, so I kind of felt like I screeched to a halt for a second there. Telling you, pipes are the secret final boss of this game. They refuse to just let you enter them sometimes. They just like to cause trouble. So yeah, we've now hit the hour mark to this run. To give you some perspective of the kind of time this run saves compared to any percent. Any percent would right now be starting, like be in the early stages of World 5, and we are now in late World 6. So we're almost an entire world ahead. Also, we're going to be skipping a door that we usually go to in any percent, and a lot of this room we don't even see in any percent because we're skipping it, and we come out of a door further down the line. It's actually down below. I don't know if we're going to see it. I might have jumped over it already. No, it's right there. Any percent comes out of that door. So a little bit of extra room there we get to see. And we get to do a lot more of the slope jumps, which is something that can really be optimized. And we got a bunch of Cheep Cheeps here. Let's see if they're going to be my friends today. Yeah, they let me jump on them. That was pretty nice. Good on them. I'm actually going to skip hitting this switch up high. This is actually a nice place that I have extra vibe for, because now I get to use all this vibe to fly up. Plus I'm going to have some left over for the next room to use some gloom. Oh, we got Starfy. So that is a random chance that he'll appear. You have to hit him 3 times in like 3 different levels to get him in your glossary, which we actually have to do for 100%. Which is really unfortunate for the 100% run, because that's just kind of relying on RNG, which you can't just exit and keep re-entering that room over and over again until he shows up. But it is an inconvenient time loss if you're just stuck there for like 20 zone loads just to get him. My most recent 100% run, in one of the rooms, got it on the first try. I think the other 2 were like maybe 15 and 20 each. So yeah. Definitely unfortunate time loss that you can't do anything about. Unless there's some manipulation out there that we don't know about yet. Which 100% has not been as, like, has probably been optimized and researched even less than this category. And that's because 100% at this point is about, like, world record is now just a little over 6 hours. So it is a slog to commit to. It involves beating every stage twice, as well as doing some bonus stages as well, and mini games and puzzles. So it's a nice, varied run with a few little like nuances that are pretty cool. Like, because the game saves like at every moment, as soon as you get the collectibles in every stage during the like your second time through stages, you can instantly exit the stage and not have to finish it, which is really cool. But you still have to commit 6 hours of a day, thereabouts, to try to do a run, just because of all the little things there are to completing this game. Like, there's actually a point in time that you need to just farm coins to buy all the upgrades from the shop. And you need a lot of money for some of the upgrades. So, yeah. Fortunately, there is a nice convenient way to farm coins, so it's not the worst. But the fact that there's just one part of the run where you just need to go to one room and just keep on destroying enemies for a while, just to increase your coin count, can be a little tedious. Alright, so yeah, this is actually probably the longest auto-scroller in the game, and it also doesn't even need that much attentiveness. So, yeah. Not much exciting going on here. Also, you've noticed that I haven't collected any toads, which of course I'm not going to because it's low toad, but even if this was any percent, I still wouldn't have any toads yet. This is the kind of stage when playing casually, if you know you have to get all the toads, it can give you a little bit of the heebie-jeebies because you're like, oh shoot, I have gone through now, like, well, I'm hitting the 3-minute mark in a speedrunning mindset. So someone might be like possibly closer to 5 minutes into the stage and they've not found a single toad yet, and that can be a little nerve-wracking because like the thought of having to redo a stage can be a little frustrating. So yeah. It's just like this stage just stuffs all 3 toads into the very end of the stage. I just passed by where the first toad was. The second toad is in a secret room there, and the third one is here in this final room. So I just passed by all 3 toads in essentially like 15 seconds. We also get to see some walruses, which we just kind of ignore. So that's exciting. Who doesn't love a good walrus, right? Alright, next boss. Now this boss, so the Stylus minigame, it's a rehash of World 4. We're tapping ice rocks instead of rock rocks. Lava rocks, I guess? I don't know, because we're in a volcano. But yeah, after this is a pretty annoying boss fight with Blazaris, some rhino wizard. A rhino fairy, I don't know. They're encased in ice, so we're going to be raging a lot to address that. To melt some ice. Like so. And this is actually one of the places where it pays off to have purchased those additional vibe upgrades, so that we can just sit here and melt the ice instead of like turning rage on and off multiple times. Oh, and I said Rhino Fairy. As of right now, you probably just see the Rhino portion. You'll see why I said Rhino Fairy in a second. One more hit I need to do, but first I need to wait for this attack to happen, which this is affected by RNG. I will get random vibe drops from these icicles right here. Fortunately, I got enough to fill me up, essentially, or fill me up most of the way. So we can get to phase 2 here pretty quickly. But sometimes you can just get like nothing and you have to wait for a whole other cycle before getting to this phase, which can be really annoying. So yeah, at this point, I'm actually going to wait so that I'm going to get some more of these icicles to drop to hopefully get some vibe from them. Like that was really good. Unfortunately, I got damaged out of my vibe there. That's not good. But from here now, basically you have to like be hitting the fairy with rage for a certain amount of time, 3 times for like the ice to crack essentially. And we got some decent RNG out of these icicles, fortunately, but it's still a very annoying boss fight. And you can see, just because of how stop and go I did, I'm actually losing a decent amount of time to my PB, which is not good. So yeah, just based on RNG and also just how annoying that boss fight can be, it can be really costly. Alright, so on to World 7. You can make it across this gap. You can make it across that gap without using the vine. Unfortunately, I missed that. I didn't jump quite late enough. It's a pretty tight jump there. We can do a similar thing here, bounce off the paratroopa, and I actually did catch the ladder and then Peach let go for some reason, I believe, but it's fine. Little inconvenience. Alright, so up ahead in this room now, there is a toad I need to make sure I don't hit. Just need to be a little careful for that. Right here. Just looks so tantalizing to hit, but we don't, because we don't want to save it. Two bob-ombs here. We're going to use one to hit this switch, and I'm going to go ahead and grab some vibe from the other. I actually got a vibe drop from defeating the one enemy too, so I have a decent amount of vibe going into these last few sections. So coming up is another one of those required toads I've mentioned, and that's not good. That's not good. That's another one of those tight jumps. I actually didn't think I was going to make it, to be honest. And yeah, this toad cannot be skipped. So we're not going to skip it. And then this room right here is a purely vertical room. So once we get to a certain height, we're going to just joy the rest of the way up. Like so. Got to keep an eye on your vibe to make sure you know if you need to like stop off somewhere, but I made it up, so we're good. Alright, and we're losing time again because of those falls. So I need to start pulling it together for this finish. Got 2 worlds left, essentially. Still slightly ahead of PB. It is possible to use that, I mentioned that weird hitbox of chain chomps, it's possible to use that in this room to get a really nice boost across it. Unfortunately, I missed the front of the chain chomp there and didn't get it. So instead we're just going to use some slope momentum to get across here. There we go. We can bounce off that figure-8ing paratroopa to get up here without needing to use those vines. It's a nice trick and awareness of enemy movement there to avoid having to deal with that. And a vertical auto-scroller. There's a few of these in the game. The only enemies in here are 2 angry Goombas, which can stomp the ground, which can stun you and knock you back and stuff. So, like, up ahead I'm going to be just mashing jump to try to avoid the stun, essentially. Like that. And that. And that just kind of guarantees we get up here as soon as we can to try to enter this pipe relatively early. And yeah, Joy Vibe makes this game noticeably forgiving. If you fall, you can just catch yourself with Joy Vibe, which is really nice. Okay, we're going to wait a little bit to see where that Bonsai Bill is. There he is. Okay. Missed a jump input, unfortunately. I am going to need some vibe for the upcoming room. I believe I'm going to get some from blocks over here, maybe? There's some. Hang on a second. I'm going to grab a Bonsai Bill real quick, just for the extra safety. Because we need to fly up here. Let's skip some balloons. You can see how little vibe I had left, so it's a good thing I grabbed that Bonsai Bill, actually. Which, yeah, so even though this game is forgiving, you can save yourself, sometimes it can be at the cost of some optimal movement, like, down the line. So actually I've fallen off, like, 3 different occasions on this stage, which is not good whatsoever. I'm now behind because of that sloppiness. So I need to pick it up to finish off this run. Yeah, it's about what's happening. That's what happens when you're rusty at a category. Part of it was RNG, but part of it was me being sloppy. Apparently I had a really good Lazarus fight in my PB. So apparently my PB, it would seem that my PB had a sloppier early game and a pretty solid late game. Either that, or I just haven't had any solid late game runs yet. I'm looking at my best possible time at the moment, because there's a chance I could be getting a lot of Peach splits up ahead, and that could sort of save the run too. It actually kind of does have to save the run. So we'll see how everything turns out, I suppose. Get to use some Gloom in this room to run a little faster, which is very nice. And this puzzle piece is entirely unskippable. There's no way to jump over it and around it. It's sort of like the unskippable Toads. It's actually the only puzzle piece we'll ever collect in both the Low Toad run and the Any % run. So there's that annoying time loss of having to watch Peach be super happy about collecting it. That was a nice use of Gloom to just speed through that room. Very happy with how that turned out. And actually coming up here, unskippable Toad. So we're saving this dude. It was a very interesting way we dodged that chain chomp. I'm not complaining. It was very interesting. Oh wow, I actually lost 4 seconds. I'm surprised. Okay, so now in this stage, what is it? This is 7-4. Yeah, we actually have a nice little reroute to any % coming up here. We're going to be flying up where there's a beanstalk. We could also alternatively water the beanstalk, but we don't want to sit and have to watch a cutscene, so we're just going to fly instead. And it's actually coming up in this next room, I believe, because it's going to take us to a secret room that has no toads in it, but it skips a pretty significant portion of the stage. So yeah, if we watered that beanstalk with Gloom, it would have been another way for us to get up here, but why do that when you can fly? Alright, so in this room, there's a hot air balloon we're going to be taking. We actually need to get down low for it. Get a little extra vibe refill there. Hopefully it'll be enough to catch us to the next vibe crystal right here. And it is. And to this one. And we're clear. Sweet. And the camera actually acts a little glitchy in that room because it sort of locks into the hot air balloon section. So you saw as I ran to the right, like the camera wasn't up with me at first. It's a little strange happening there. And we eat those guys because it's really nice to have some vibe up ahead here. Coming up, we're going to be running a bunch and then also hopping on some trampolines with Gloom. Right here. We skip over the first set, jump to the second. Kind of got to figure out where the next one is, and we're done. There it is. And same thing here. This is it. So we got back-to-back rerouted stages here. We're going to take this low path here that we completely avoid typically. We are going to hit that switch just to climb up here. And that's because we do want to keep some vibe for up ahead. This actually skips like huge portions of the stage. It actually is going to skip all but one toad, but we actually don't even see that toad because of how we sort of route through the rest of it. I do have plenty of vibe for this, so I'm just going to run to the right. And here's what I get to do. I get to just jump up here and just fly. I don't even have to make the platforms appear for this because I have enough vibe to just run up like that. And here we go. Dropping the emote. Fantastic. So yeah, the last room we're gonna gloom through, which actually the game entirely expects us to because it's got those quick sinking blocks. But I actually need to grab a Vibe Crystal before turning on my gloom so I don't run out and just kind of stop in place, because that would be bad. And here we go. Now we get to do it. Alright, next boss fight. Got another trampoline section here, like way back in World 1. The goal ring was barely on screen there, I don't know if you can see it. But yeah, just based on that setup, it works out. Thanks for the Glod Peach we got going on there. So Kamek here, or just Giant Magikoopa. We're just gonna spin Dizzy real quick. And then just whack him. Whack him, whack him, whack him. Fortunately, I wasn't on the cloud, so I had to fly back up for the next hit. There we go. Which, speaking of not being on the platform, after the third hit, we go on to phase 2, where the platform is entirely gone. And we're about to save the Green Man. Okay. So there's only 5 stages here because we won't be doing the final boss. So yeah, this is where the game becomes a complete labyrinth. But because we don't need to go to all the toads, which because it's a labyrinth, that means that like some of the toads are like in alternate pathways, we get to skip a whole lot of this stage. So if we went left there, that would lead to a toad. If I went in that door, it would lead to a toad. If I went left here, it would lead to a toad. Instead, I skip all of that. And we just try to take the quickest path we can to the exit. And we slide left here, no door. I wasn't supposed to hit that switch, actually. Whoops. That's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that I hit that. I got ahead of myself with that switch. And now we get to just piece out of this stage right here. Alright, 4 more stages to get some time back. Unfortunately, you can't really get time back on an auto-scroller. And this is actually the other, like, long auto-scroller of the game. But you're basically on your toes the entire time because, like, there's only one cycle that you can catch for each moving platform. So it's either you catch it or you fall and die. So yeah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to fall and die, you know? Time is at 10:29. Oh, I can do more rounds. So yeah, we get to skip a little bit of this room. Yeah, that, like, one of the gimmicks of this stage is just a bunch of switches that move blocks. So you'll see that a decent amount. Alright, got a wrecking ball here. It's got a gloom to break it. Break through the blocks with the wrecking ball, I mean. Alright, and then this room can be a little spooky sometimes. Especially if you screw up. Like that. So I have a little bit of vibe, so can I catch it up here? Barely able to make it up there, yeah. Based on how I use my vibe there, I really cut it close. If I didn't make that, that would have cost me a lot of time. Now just because I got my head stuck in a ceiling. So yeah, I just gotta lead those blue fires to those torches to open a door. So yeah, this is one of those stages I mentioned a while back, those blindfolded boos. They're chasing me right now. We'll see them at the very end of the room. Don't worry about that. Here they are. Say hi. Say bye. Nice thing about these moving spike platforms, if you run properly through this room, their cycles line up really nicely. That you can just catch them as you run by. And we got some slide umbrella time. So let's go! Okay. You need to be a little careful here, because you drop down and there's a toad. Do not save it. And if you catch this fire on the way up, you can damage boost up to that platform. Really nifty. Really nifty. We killed those guys to farm some vibe refill, which we got, which is good. We need vibe for that wrecking ball, as well as I'm going to use some to fly up here. And then actually the next room, which has a giant thwomp face in the background, we're going to run through a decent amount of it. So the deal is, you see those statues? I need to match the pose of those statues, which is just ducking in this case. There's a few rooms like this in this world, but we skip a decent amount. If you don't match it, the thwomp in the back will suck you up, and you have to redo the entire stage. Or the entire room, I mean. Not the entire stage, just the room. That'd be terrible if it was the entire stage. So yeah, fortunately we got through. We just fly to skip this room entirely. trying to avoid hitting any, like, being knocked back by any enemies. There we go. Run through some of this room now. And some more blue fire to finish the stage out, essentially. You can just walk under the fire when it spawns. And honestly, that platform that the blue fire runs through, it kind of looks like it's in the background, so it's kind of tricky and it's like hard to realize you can walk on it sometimes. But you can. And that's how you get out. Alright, so one last stage here to finish this off. Actually, just kidding, I got 2 more stages. I'm getting ahead of myself. Run. Okay. That jump looked a little sketchy, I must say. But yeah, so this stage starts off with the 2 gimmicky movements. Got yourself a slide umbrella, followed immediately after by a sub-brella. We're going to use some gloom, and we're actually going to take a different door than we usually do. For any percent here, actually it's not a door, it's a pipe, but we're going to go down here. And it's another gravity room, but funnily enough, the way this room is set up, you don't even need to move the gravity. You just leave. It's silly. But that's how they designed it. You see that toad there? We don't care. Whoops. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Yeah, actually the way the toads are set up in this stage, it actually requires a little bit of awkward backtracking to do it all in one go. Gonna eat him to refill some vibes so I can fly up and then instantly gloom and have enough gloom to run all the way to the door. And now this last room has so many fire bars, even if you wanted to try to gloom through it, it wouldn't really work out for you. Gotta watch out and not die here. I almost died at that end. That would have been a terrifying way to lose this run. Or a terrible, not terrifying. Alright, so last stage here. Starts off with an auto-scroller, and just to kind of give you a heads up with the way this stage is designed, we're going to go into like a hub room, essentially, and it's going to have 4 doors. Top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. 3 of those doors lead to toads. I don't care. The 4th one is my exit. That's what I want. So I'm just going to go straight to the top left, which is the exit, and that's where I finish. So this run ends when you hit the final goal ring. So that time is hitting that goal ring. So I'm just going to instantly fly up there. And that's why I needed to farm a little bit of vibe on my way through that auto-scroller. And I got a little scared, actually, when I screwed up when I fell there. Because then I needed to use some vibe. I was afraid I wasn't going to have enough to go here. Yeah, so this stage ends, really, in this next room. I'm done. As soon as I jump across this gap right here, there's the goal ring. And that's time. 1:34:20. So in the end, I was 9 seconds ahead. So, yeah. That is Low Toad. So you can see now on the top screen, oh my goodness, I can feel a powerful force within. Before the final battle, you need to rescue all the toads from past stages. So we didn't do that. So we can't enter this stage. So the last thing we do anytime we do a Low Toad run to kind of make sure it was truly a Low Toad run, I'm going to read the rules directly off of speedrun.com for Low Toad. Complete all levels through 8-5 while collecting the minimum amount of toads possible. Note that this run does not beat the game. The time starts when selecting a new file and ends when hitting the 8-5 goal ring. After finishing the run, return to the overworld map, which I'm doing right now, to show all your toad counts. They should have the following. So I go to World 1 and it should be 1 out of 16. It is. World 2, it should be 2 out of 16, which it is. World 3, 1 out of 16. We can see it is. World 4, over here, should be 2 out of 16. It is. World 5, or Area 5, I guess I technically call them, 1 out of 16. It is. 6 should be 1 out of 16. 7 is 3 out of 16, and 8 is 0 out of 15. So you see all those, and yeah, verified run due to that. So actually, so that's 1, that's a PB, and 2, it looks like I got a 1:34.20. That is a 2-second world record. Because world record right now is 1:34.22. I just got 1:34.20, possibly a little better. I'll have to check my splits. But yeah, that's a world record right there.